Hi, I'm Rocky Bucano, Executive Director of the Universal Hip Hop Museum, and you're checking out allhiphop.com.
What's going on, world? It's your man Chuck Creekmer, aka Jigsaw, and I'm here with a special guest, Rocky Bucano of the Universal Hip Hop Museum. What's going on? How you doing?
I'm good, Chuck. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm glad to have you here finally at One World Studios here in Midtown Manhattan. And, you know, we've been kicking it for a few years. I mean, actually quite a while. You know, this Universal Hip Hop Museum is not new, even though now the excitement is a lot different. For people that don't know, can you tell them a little bit about it?
So the Universal Hip Hop Museum is the official record of hip hop. We opened in 2024 at the Bronx Point, but I've been on this journey for going on 12 years now. So it's 12 years in the making. The beginning was tough, but now, like you said, the enthusiasm and excitement is picking up. We've done stuff all around the country. We just did a tribute to all the West Coast hip hop legends at the Peterson Museum. People know the Peterson Museum because that was the last place that Biggie was at before he was unfortunately murdered. So that was the first time that they actually had a hip hop event inside the Peterson Museum since Biggie's tragic death.
Wow.
And we brought out all the we gave awards to Ruthless Records and Death Row Records, and we honored Little Easy E, for his father's legacy. We gave awards to Yo-Yo and Kid Frost, because we've been doing a lot of stuff here on the East Coast, and we didn't want the West Coast to feel like they were being left out.
Right.
The guys from the Bump Box were in the building. They got everybody.
Box.
They got everybody to sign their box.
The Bump Box. I need one of those.
Since 2012, we've done so many different things just to, get people excited about, the future museum. We have a new exhibit that just opened called The Revolution of Hip Hop, which is at the Bronx Terminal Market. We've been at that space for 3 years now, since 2019. So, good things are coming.
Yeah, that's what's up. How hard is it to satisfy people now? You mentioned the West Coast. I know when the museum first was sort of publicly announced, everybody from everywhere, people down south, it shouldn't even be in New York. It should be in a neutral zone. And, there was all this commotion. How hard is it for you to sort of manage those different opinions, different voices?
I don't get swayed by all the noise, what I call noise and distractions.
Yeah.
When we were going around looking for a location for the museum, people wanted us to move to Washington, D.C. They wanted it in Newark, New Jersey. And it just didn't feel right. Hip hop was born in the Bronx. And to me, it needs, any museum that represents hip hop needs to have its permanent space in the borough that gave birth to it.
Yeah.
So, and it's good, and it's a good thing because the location that we're at is beautiful. It's 5 blocks south of Yankee Stadium. It sits right on the border between the Bronx and Harlem. Easy for folks to get to from Harlem. It's right next to the major Digging Expressway, so people from Jersey, Connecticut, Westchester can get there. People from Brooklyn, Queens can get there very easily. So, I mean, it's a great location. And because we're the Universal Hip Hop Museum, people don't have to worry about us not including them. Everyone's going to be included, even the people who are creating history overseas in South Africa and Europe and Asia and the Middle East and South America and Canada. Everyone's included, so no story is not going to be told. All stories are going to be included. And I think that's what people feel most comfortable with, is knowing that this museum is for them. It's for everyone.
Yeah, nice. Talk a little about this journey, when it began for you. What kind of sparked the idea and, the journey to this point?
I've been in the music business over 40 years, but I had stepped out of the music business. I was the executive director of the New York Gauchos basketball program. And, we have a gym in the Mott Haven section of the Bronx. We've been there since 1968. Kenny Anderson, Mark Jackson, Stephon Marbury. Well, a lot of NBA greats came out of the Gauchos basketball program. So I was the executive director for 13 years, and real estate developers wanted us to see if we were interested in expanding the program to another part of the Bronx. So I got introduced to a real estate opportunity, primarily for the Gauchos basketball program, but then got introduced to another real estate developer who wanted to expand just beyond moving the Gauchos there and giving us extra space. He wanted to actually, see if there was a way to add a music component to his project.
Okay.
Because he was trying to win this Kingsbridge Armory, which was, up for bid from the city of New York. So I told him, I said, you should consider adding a hip hop museum to your proposal. And his name is Young Woo. He's a Korean real estate developer. So when Young Woo heard that idea of a hip hop museum, he was like, if you can bring the people together, and he didn't know my music background,
Yeah.
I'll build you a museum.
Wow.
So that's how it started. Unfortunately, that location did not work out because Young Woo didn't prevail in his bid to, acquire the Kingsbridge Armory.
Okay.
So it took us on a journey. After that, we went from the Kingsbridge Armory to the Bronx Courthouse to another location, and then ended up where we are today. But, the whole idea of creating a museum, it takes time.
Yeah.
It takes patience, and you have to have the right business acumen, and you have to have the right fortitude, because it's not an easy project.
Yeah.
It's easy starting a record company because all you gotta do is go in the studio, hit record, get some dope tracks, get your publishing right, get the contracts right, press up, not
even press up.
right, just stream it out now.
Right.
But back in the day, we were selling records from the back of our trunk. But building a museum is different. It's you representing history, you're representing culture, it's preservation, it's documenting the history, making the stories are told accurately, and making sure that you're in alliance and in agreement with the stories, because this guy has one version of history, that person has another version of history, and the truth falls somewhere in the middle.
Right.
So you always got to kind of like be this unbiased arbiter.
Yeah.
To make sure that, the stories that are being presented are as accurate as possible. There's still a lot of gray areas in a lot of the stories that's being told, even from the people who created the history.
Absolutely.
They tell their own version of it. And then when you talk to somebody else that was there, that ain't right.
Right.
So it's like, we have to kind of like listen to all voices when it comes to history, just to make sure that, as the museum is representing the culture, that we are putting the most accurate possibility of the story out there to the public.
Yeah. I know firsthand how difficult that can be. Especially, you don't always think that the people there may embellish or, not saying lie, but just everybody's looking for a spot in history at this point, especially with hip hop being young. The people that started it are still alive. People are still alive. So it's not like George Washington or something.
Yeah. So as Paradise Gray, our chief curator, loves to say, we're building a museum, not a mausoleum.
Right. Right.
Most museums that people go to are reflective. They look backwards because people, dinosaurs, they're not here anymore.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, you go to the history museum, it's George Washington, Benjamin Franklin, all those, it's about what happened in the past.
Right.
But because we are a hip hop museum and a lot of the practitioners and the people who created are still here, it's like a living tribute to them.
Yeah, definitely. With that, I've heard mumbles and grumbles from different people. Some people want compensation, some people, different little things. How do you deal with that? Like, and is this museum unique in that respect where the people are still alive? Usually even the African American Museum, it's like no beneficiary, so to speak.
Yes. So, we are a nonprofit organization, so we're not in the business of, creating these revenue streams to compensate people who think they should be compensated. It's really about, we're creating a legacy
Yeah.
to make sure that their legacy is preserved so that future generations, when they're gone and I'm gone and you're gone, that they know who created this culture and how it was created and where the culture started,
Yep.
where it began, how it evolved. So that's what the business of a museum is.
Yeah.
And it costs a lot of money to do that.
Yeah.
Right. So, in order for us to be sustainable, we have to create, revenue streams to make sure that the museum is not just opening on the 2024 and closing in 2025.
Right.
That is here for 50, 60, 70, 200 years from now.
Yeah.
So most of the people who are, how do I get compensated? You're using my picture for this and for that. They have to understand that there's a business behind this thing in order to make it succeed and make it, make it become what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Now, what we intend to do with a lot of the pioneers and a lot of the people that are, in that state, where they want to be compensated, we create opportunities. We produce concerts, we're producing documentaries and television shows. So there's always a way to compensate people for their time and for their work. But from the museum itself, it's not in the business to,
Just cut a check.
no, we're not doing that.
Yeah. Last year, you guys did an amazing series of concerts. Man, that was heaven, man. How difficult was that to pull off? In every borough, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, you guys hit every borough. I missed the Bronx, by the way. I heard that was amazing.
Yeah. So it was all of the outer boroughs.
Okay.
De Blasio didn't want to do a concert in Manhattan because the Central Park concert was there.
Right.
And the Central Park concert was being produced by Live Nation, but it had groups like, Barry Manilow, and, it wasn't an all hip hop thing like we did for the outer boroughs.
Right.
But the concerts that we did for each borough was really a celebration of the people who came from those boroughs. So in the Bronx, we had all the Bronx artists. In Brooklyn, we had all Brooklyn artists. In Staten Island, we had all Staten Island artists, except for, we had EPMD out there.
Yeah.
We had Rob Bass. We had to throw a couple other people on that show. And then Queens, we brought George Clinton out there, which was the highlight of, to me, all the shows.
Yeah.
Because, if anyone knows the story of Parliament Funkadelic, besides James Brown
Absolutely
being the most sampled man in hip hop, I think George Clinton is probably
number two.
Close.
He might be
Close to number one, or right
at this
behind
point.
him.
Yeah, he might be. Definitely.
Yeah. So Uncle George was real, and it was his 80th birthday celebration. So it was a beautiful thing. We had, we had 51 artists that we put on those shows.
Yeah. It's amazing. So,
and that was the first time many of them had performed since COVID.
Right.
So that was their first paycheck in a long time.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice.
So I felt good about that. Made de Blasio thank him for that. I really, Mayor de Blasio, he really set the tone for the Hip Hop Museum. The city of New York is really invested in this project. So is the state of New York. And because of their investment, we're allowed to move this project forward, which is key.
Talk about the actual structure. It costs, I forget the amount, but it's what, 400 million or something.
So the entire development is 400 million, but the museum itself is an $80 million project.
Got you. So you have housing in there as well.
Yep. Which museum has nothing to do with. That's L&M.
Okay.
They're affordable housing real estate developers. So it's a partnership between the Universal Hip Hop Museum, L&M Development Partners, Type A Projects, and the City of New York. The City of New York owns the land that we're on. So we have a 100-year lease with the City of New York, which guarantees that the museum will be around for many, many, many years. L&M manages all the apartment buildings. We have a relationship with them. They created our space. We have a condo agreement with them. so that the museum actually owns its own space, which is fantastic. And we're in a great location right on the Harlem River waterfront. So
You gonna have a rooftop? We need a rooftop, like a sexy rooftop where we can just chill. I don't know if that's gonna be there.
no,
Okay.
we don't have a rooftop, but there's a lot of park space.
Okay.
We got a great waterfront.
Yeah.
We're gonna have I can't tell you which restaurant's gonna be there, but we're gonna have a beautiful restaurant. It's got its own private balcony where you can have your dinner and drinks and sit right out on the waterfront and enjoy the museum. We have a 160-seat theater inside the museum, so we can have, artists do intimate performances, record release parties.
Nice.
We can have filmmakers come up there and show their documentaries. Microsoft is our tech partner, so this is going to be a very tech-savvy, very immersive kind of museum experience where, that a lot of the young people will love because they're into new technology. We're not going to create a stale type of environment where, people come in there and they just feel like it's not stuffy,
Yeah.
doesn't have the right kind of vibe. There's no energy. Hip hop is all about lifestyle and energy. And that's the type of museum that we're creating. And I think we're doing a great job because if our exhibit is any indication of the future museum, this new exhibit, Chuck, you got to come see.
Yeah, the golden era.
The reviews are over the top. We brought a downtown immersive experience that people normally have to go to, like the Basquiat exhibit that's here, the Van Gogh exhibit that was just downtown, Banksy that was here a couple months ago. Those type of experiences, we recreated that for the golden era uptown.
Yeah.
So the people now uptown, they have something they can really be excited about.
Yeah. Yeah. So, wait, before I ask you the question, so the rumor is that there's going to be a train in the final museum. Is that correct?
Yeah. So
A subway train, that is.
Well, yeah, we have a train that floats over like one of the grand entrances.
Okay.
And it's just part of the experience. It's when you think of the 5 elements of hip hop, and you think of the contribution of the aerosol writers and the taggers, you just see those trains from back in the day with all the artwork on it. So you have to have a train inside the building.
Yeah, definitely. So you did the Pioneers. That was the first iteration of the exhibit, and now we have the 90s. Well, not the 90s, the golden era, I should say, which bleeds into the 90s.
Yep, 1986 to 1990, considered the most impactful, evolution of hip hop. That time period, you had Yo MTV got started, the Source magazine got started, you had BDP, Rakim, Public Enemy, the Beastie Boys, Queen Latifah, Tribe Called Quest, on and on and on. It was just the most diverse array of hip hop music and culture during that time period. It was also during that time period where, in my opinion, the Black Lives Matter movement was born. Because you had Fight the Power, you had Spike Lee, Do the Right Thing, you had NWA with all you had Ice-T. So, all this messaging about what was happening in and around the community, whether it was police brutality or the inequities in education and jobs and the war on drugs, all that started during this time period. And it was from that time period that really opened up, the protest movement.
Absolutely.
From a youth movement point of view.
Yeah.
So, and then Mandela was free during that time period as well.
Stetsasonic, and that's the beauty of hip hop. Stetsasonic had a song. I cannot think of it right now, but they're name dropping different African countries and stuff, and that's the power of the culture, educating us. Chuck D, Ice-T, Boogie Down Productions, they really ignited a fire in in that generation that really, to me, continues today. There's a direct line to Black Lives Matter. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. If any educational scholars look back on that time period, you will see a direct lineage between today's Black Lives Matter movement and what was happening back during the golden era of hip hop. And then you had, guys like Dapper Dan creating all the fashion wear, and April Walker and her clothing line, and all the entrepreneurship that came out of that time period.
For sure.
So I personally, I had my record label, Strong City Records, which
we're about to get into that,
which started during that time period. So it was, in my opinion, the most creative time in hip hop history.
So there you have. So tell us about your actual legacy in hip hop, your roots in the culture.
Well, I started as a teenage DJ in the early 70s. My cousin was Pete DJ Jones. Pete, opened up, the world to, what mobile disc jockeying was all about. He helped me, he helped Grandmaster Flash, he helped Lovebug Starsky, and many, many others. So he gave me my break in the music business, and I started with him, went to all the clubs. I'm from the Valley, which is the northeast section of the Bronx. So I got into concert promotion with M. Morton Hall and my partner, Milton LaCroix. So just, running around town, putting up the posters for all M. Morton Hall's concerts, and got an introduction to that business, and then promoting my own clubs with my family, doing, parties at the Hotel Diplomat, which people heard from back in the day was one of the main places that hot DJ Hollywood and Flash and myself and Grandmaster Flowers. And then after that, I had my own record company, Strong City, which started in 1986, and we had groups like Busy Bee and Masters of Ceremony, Don Barron, Ice Cream Tea, Ultimate Force. And then, after, Strong City, I worked with Teddy Riley, and I was managing him for a while, the first Blackstreet album. So I've been around the music business for over 40 years. Strong City was a great label because it was Strong City, Def Jam, Tommy Boy, Profile, Cold Chillin'. We were all producing records and music all at the same time.
Now wait, did you rap? Did you used to rap?
Nope.
You never rapped?
No.
That's a rumor on the streets.
Zero.
It's not true, y'all. It's not true.
No rhyme skills here. Zero.
Okay. I don't know where I heard that from. Okay, that's what's up. You cleared that one up for me. I was about to ask you to, drop a couple bars on them. No, okay.
So my crew was, I was Cool DJ Rock and the Come Off crew.
Okay.
And I had two MCs, Timmy Hall, they call the baritone of the microphone, and KBJ.
Okay.
And those two guys were like, butter and jelly.
Yeah.
They knew how to create choreography.
Okay.
Different from like the other groups like the Crash Crew and the Furious Five. It was more poetic, more melodic.
Okay.
More call and response kind of things. But they rocked the crowd just like those guys. So
nice.
And it was a different experience back then because we performed out in the park, and we gave one type of experience to those people that came to the park, and then we went to the nightclubs, but the nightclubs we went to were mostly adults,
right?
And we were teenagers, DJing and performing in these adult nightclubs. So two different worlds, but all good stuff.
Nice. Did you ever think this this version of you in hip hop would emerge when you were younger, or even or just a few years ago? Like it sometimes the game it takes you different places, and you know you'll be a part of it, but sometimes.
Well, listen, I never imagined that I would be building a hip hop museum. That was the furthest thing from my mind. As a matter of fact, I was working at Cablevision in their interactive, media department, and there was a white guy that was working for me, and he was working on a project called the National Museum of Hip Hop. I don't know if you ever remember that one with Craig Wilson.
No.
Yeah, so that was like the first version of people trying to start a hip hop
Yeah.
museum.
Mm-hmm.
They actually got a building, and I don't know what happened. I heard the story that KRS One went down to a town hall meeting.
Oh, I was there. Oh yeah, but go ahead. I think Karis was riffing that night.
Yeah,
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 was
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I was there. I still have pictures in my phone from that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So anyway, after that, people abandoned that project.
I thought that, in my head, in my brain, in my hindsight, I thought that was you.
Yeah.
I mean,
No.
just because that was the only other museum that I could remember.
Yeah. So you had that one.
Mm-hmm.
You had the Hip Hop Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
And you got the one down in Washington D.C. The National Museum of Hip Hop,
Mm-hmm.
which they're in D.C. And then you have a couple others, but the Universal Hip Hop Museum is something that we started 12 years ago, and the reason why it got started is because of the real estate opportunity that came to me with the Gauchos.
Yeah.
And I bought Africa Bambaataa, Grandmaster Melly Mel, Mickey Benson, Grand Louis Theodore, Joe Conzo. We all got together, and they're like the founding members of the museum. And I kept the gas pedal down and didn't look left and right, just kept going straight. And rest in peace, Gary Harris, good friend of mine from the record business. Gary used to call me up late at night, say, "Yo, bro, whatever you do, don't stop ever working on this museum project, because you're the kind of guy that will get it done because of your background in music and all the other things that you've done. You can get it done.
Yeah.
These other cats, they can't get it done."
Yeah. You're like the Paul Revere of hip hop, because it takes a special person to make something like that happen. You have to have a connection to different layers of people, not only the culture, but corporately, all types of.
Building the museum, I'll give you this analogy, and we're frat, so
Yeah.
you're going to like this one. Building the museum is like building a pyramid,
Oh, nice.
right?
Yeah.
It ain't easy.
Right.
It ain't for the faint of heart,
Right.
because the stuff that you got to do to just get to the level of museum
Mm-hmm.
acceptance
Mm-hmm.
costs lots and lots of money.
Yeah.
And I funded this project for almost 12 years before we started getting funding from the city and state. I was mainly putting in the money out of my own pocket
Right.
to keep this project going.
People don't know that. Like, people don't realize the sweat equity it takes
Yeah, I mean,
before it starts moving.
if you can imagine me working on this project for 12 years every day
Mm-hmm.
for at least 10 hours a day
Mm-hmm.
for 12 years.
Right. Yes.
Tell me what kind of investment that is,
That's an investment.
right?
Yeah.
So if you put that in dollars and I was charging $200 an hour,
Yeah.
millions of dollars,
Absolutely.
right? So, but they say in order to become good at something, you got to put at least 10,000 hours in, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I put in probably triple that.
Yeah. I get it.
Right?
Yeah.
And kudos to everybody that's working on the project now. First, in the beginning, it was just me and Cutman LG
Mm-hmm.
and Curtis Blow and
Mm-hmm.
one or two other people. Then we added on other people as people learned about the project. I got a huge volunteer army.
Yeah.
We only really have almost like 7 full-time employees now,
Right.
but I got a massive volunteer army.
Nice.
And if it wasn't for the people that are committed to this project, that want to volunteer and give time to this project, we wouldn't be where we are today.
Yeah.
So it takes commitment and resources like that
Yeah.
in order to really build something and get it up and going. There's a lot of hate out there, and I understand the hate. But I'm the type of person that I pay no attention to all the hate, because I'm building something not for me.
Yeah.
It's not called Rocky Bucano's museum. It's called the Universal Hip Hop Museum, because my mission is to make sure that the culture, your history, Red Alert's history, Grandmaster Flash's history, Queen Latifah's history is preserved.
Yeah.
That's my mission.
Dope. We ask everybody up here. I'm gonna ask you too. Your top 5 dead or alive in
Top
hip-hop.
5?
In
Okay.
hip-hop. Okay.
That's easy for me because
All right, boom.
So number 1 on my list is KRS-One.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. That guy can go and go and go
And go
and
and
go
still going.
and go, and I love him. He's a
Yeah.
great person.
Definitely love KRS.
Second on my list is Grandmaster Melly Mel.
Melly Mel. Ah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
He is one of the greatest gifted poets of all time.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, and by the way, his rap from Beat Street is as relevant now as it was back then.
Oh yeah. Number 3, the God MC, Rakim.
Okay. All right.
Now his lyrical style really changed the whole direction of where hip hop was going from that time period. Number 4, dead, I want to say Biggie.
Okay.
And the reason why I say Biggie is because here came this big, he wasn't a very handsome guy.
He said it. He said it himself. Black and
Right.
ugly as ever.
Right?
Yeah.
But, oh my God,
Yeah.
his lyrical game was incredible.
Yep.
You know?
Absolutely.
And then number 5, don't kill me, everyone, Eminem.
Eminem. Okay. I mean, I didn't mean to say it like that, but I'm. That's surprising. Why Eminem?
And sorry that there's no women in my top 5, but Eminem, his pen game is stupid.
Of course, yeah. For
His
sure.
pen game is, if you look at his writing
Yeah.
and how he writes, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And he's a connoisseur of culture and history.
And pays respects incredibly.
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
All the time. So Eminem, you gotta show up now. You got to come down. You gotta come to the Bronx. Yeah, for sure. What do you think about hip hop now? What's your take on it?
Listen, it's a continuous evolution. I would like to see more diversity in styles.
Yeah.
And I'm thankful that Kendrick and J. Cole give that diversity, but there's got to be more.
Absolutely.
I love Rhapsody. I love what she brings to the game. I love some of the other, guys from, the South. I'm not going to get into all of the Little Babies and Lil Baby and, but, they all bring a unique kind of like personality. The only thing that I would say to, the people that are pushing the music out there, A&R in the music, you got to create diverse stories. You got to add more color to what's being out there. It can't be as homogenous as it sounds right now.
Yeah.
And listen, it's all about creativity.
Yeah.
I think we need more people that are producing and responsible for pushing out the music.
Yep.
To understand that they have a responsibility to add more fruit to
Variety.
the platter.
Yeah.
You don't want to just have a bunch of pineapples and that's the only thing on the tray. You want some watermelons, cantaloupes, and grapes.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And I won't say the executive's name, but I asked him that very question, and he put the onus on the artist. But I actually don't do that. I actually believe that the artists tend to follow whatever they see leads to success, a paycheck. Yeah, basically success, money, likes, views. Like it's all different things, fame, and I don't know that it's ever been any different than that. But I do know that, like the golden era, for example, we saw probably the most diverse version of hip hop, and after like at least it set the tone for what the possibilities were.
Yeah, listen, no disrespect to any of the artists that are out there today. I think they're all doing what they can to make sure that they get that bag, like you said. I just think that there is an opportunity, not just at the recording side, but also in the commercialization,
Yeah.
radio stations have to open up their format as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's not making the music as accessible to a broader audience as it used to be.
Yeah.
Right? It's become very narrow, and therefore the audience is going to be very narrow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you expand the type of music that you're putting out there, you're going to reach many more people.
Yeah, definitely. So can you get people the all the pertinent information regarding where to donate or where to find the museum online and
Yeah, so
things of that sort?
the museum's website is UHHM as in man .org. UHHM.org. The Revolution of Hip Hop is open Tuesdays through Sunday at the Bronx Terminal Market. You can get tickets on our website, and you can also donate. If you want to donate and support the cause, you can go right to the website and donate.
Definitely, definitely. In fact, I did a little thing on Instagram. I raised $500. I think it was 500. I forget.
Okay.
And I said, "Oh snap! I didn't know this. This is a thing." So you can donate in different ways. Like you can actually do it on like a Instagram and have your following do a lot of the donations. So
people do Facebook campaigns and
right.
birthdays. They say donate to this.
Yeah.
We even have where you can, if you have, a lot of people shop on Amazon.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So if you go to smile.amazon.com, smile, the word smile, SMILE.amazon.com, and it tells you pick your favorite charity. You can pick the Universal Hip Hop Museum, and a percentage from every product that you buy.
Oh man.
Will go to the...
I'm gonna do that because I give them way too much money. I mean, it's like every day now.
Yeah. So, and just think, you're just one person, and they have tens of millions of customers. Amazon.
Yeah.
So we got 2% of all those people to do it. It's great. Mass Appeal. Shout out to Mass Appeal and Nas and Peter Bittenbender. Shout out to Rock the Bells, Claudine Joseph, and LL Cool J. Big supporters of the museum.
Dope.
Eric B just joined the board.
Oh, that's my man.
Yep. So shout out to Eric B. We're speaking to Kaz and Mel about coming on.
Okay.
And joining the board. So listen, we're doing as much outreach as we can. Like I said, this museum is for everybody. Now our sights are set on the 50th anniversary of hip hop.
Yeah. What are your, if you can tell, plans, sort of for the 50th?
Well, we're going to be doing activations from November of this year all the way to August of next year.
Okay.
I can't tell you what they are.
Oh, man.
We're still working on all the details, but the city of New York is going to be lit.
Yeah. Well, you need a partner in media who can be lit too. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. No, all hip hop's definitely here for you. I've been up and back to the museum so many times. Shout out to Ice-T, because I think it was Ice-T and Mickey who got me up there initially.
Yep.
But we've had numerous conversations, so I appreciate the work, man. Like I'm really happy to see it coming into life. Because it just seems, when you're, back years ago, you don't always see that light,
Yeah, well, listen, it takes a certain amount of perseverance. I could have thrown in the towel over 1,000 times.
Yeah.
With the frustration, with the depression, with the lack of support.
Uh-huh.
And I said, you know what? You can't give up just because you're running into this brick wall or that obstacle or this pothole or whatever. Got to keep it going.
Yeah.
So as long as, I was able to get the support of just 2 people or 3 people, 4 people, it gave me the energy and the motivation that I needed to just make sure that I stayed focused.
Yeah. So Alpha Man, y'all.
There you go.
We don't give up.
We don't give up.
Yeah. Well, thank you for coming here to One World Studios. We really appreciate you. You have our full support. Even for services, recording services and things of that nature. So just let us know.
Awesome.
Yeah. All right.
Peace.
Peace.